Hey everybody, Scott here with Stag Arms. Today we're going to talk about how to maximize shooting from a tripod. Stand by. Okay, so some of the things to consider, okay, is where you mount the rifle on the tripod. As you can see here, I have it mounted more towards the center, so it's a little bit more balanced, okay, which again, there's pros and cons to that. Or I could mount it to where it's further down on the barrel to where it's going to be less balanced. It's less about balance, but all that does is to help to minimize the movement at the end of the barrel because of the fulcrum or where it's at. It's just, it's going to minimize the movement in my shoulder, okay, or from the buttstock, okay. So it's really up to you and what you shoot the best. Okay, for me, I like to center it up to where it's more balanced. Okay, that's just the way I like to do it. All right, so now that I have the rifle attached to the tripod, the next thing I have to think about is, okay, what is the height? Okay, what is the height that I need to where I can address the rifle and it's going to be natural, and I'm going to be able to use the fundamentals of marksmanship while doing so, okay? So what I like to do is not dip down at all, okay? I don't want to have to bend forward or have to squat at all. If I have to bend forward, I'm using muscles in the back of my, or in the lower part of my back, which means that it could lead to fatigue, which means that it's going to be harder to be consistent. If I have to like bend my knees in any way, again, it's not it's not a structural thing, it's more of a muscle thing. And that's just going to cause me to possibly fatigue and again, not be as consistent. All right, so with that concept in mind, I'm going to want to bring the tripod up high enough to where I can pretty much walk into it with hardly any kind of crouching or bending. Now, on this Vortex Radian, it just happens to be that all the way out on all legs is going to be about the right height for me, okay? I'm 6'4", so if you're thinking, oh my gosh, the Radian's probably a little bit short, it's not. I'm just happen to be 6'4", so this, the height of this tripod should work for pretty much most people out there, okay? Okay, so now that I have the legs out as far as I can, enough to where I don't have to crouch down behind the rifle, the next thing I want to do is I want to line it up. Okay, now there's different ways of lining up your tripod. There's a method or a school of thought to where you want the pointed part of the tripod facing the target. And there's also another method where the leg or the pointed part of the triangle, like on the tripod, is facing the shooter. Okay. Again, there's pros and cons to everything. I particularly like it where my front leg is facing forward. Okay, so the point of the tripod is facing the target, mostly because whenever I can manage the recoil a little bit better, or I wouldn't say better, but it's better for consistency. So now every time the rifle recoils, it's going to be a more consistent pathway, and all that means is that I'm able to, if I come off target, I'm able to get back on target quicker and easier because it's more manageable, it's more predictable, it's more consistent, or just by me getting into the rifle the best I can. Like with this one here, it's like almost 17 pounds and it's a 6.5 Creedmoor. I can keep this sucker on target and watch my impact, okay? Now, if I was to turn the tripod this way, what I'm talking about here is maybe the recoil goes a little bit to the left, maybe it goes a little bit to the right. Either way, it's less consistent. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying this is the reason why I like to shoot with my front leg forward, okay? Okay, now I'm going to actually address the rifle, okay? So what I want to think about here is I want to think about putting the rifle as close to the center of my chest as possible. The reason for that is because I want to manage the recoil. If I had it directly into the center of my chest, in order to manage the recoil, it would come straight back into my chest. It wouldn't go to the left or to the right. It would do the best job possible managing the recoil. However, I can't do that because then, I can't get behind the scope and it just doesn't work. But with that in mind, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to maintain or keep it mostly to as close to the center as my body as possible. So I'm just gonna go kind of right over my, draw a line like from my right eye all the way down. And this is about where I want to put the buttstock into my chest here, okay? So I got it right here, just kind of above the head, or just kind of like just to the right of the head of this clavicle here. okay, lining it up. I've got my feet generally about a little bit more than shoulder width apart, okay? And I'm just gonna kind of get behind the rifle. All right, that feels really, really nice. Now what I want to do is kind of fine tune everything. So what I want to do is I'm going to adjust the crosshairs to where it's about 2 mil below my point of impact. Now the reason for that is because what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here, and when I get the butt stock positioned to where it needs to be, okay, I'm gonna kind of like raise up a little bit with my knees. So my knees were just slightly bent coming into it. And then I'm gonna raise up, okay, almost locking out my knees. Now when I'm not locking, I'm not tightening them up, but I'm just kind of raising up a little bit, providing tension now, tension down on the bottom of the butt pad here, okay? So what that does is I have tension now pushing up, okay? My cheek now and my head is resting down on the cheek piece, so I'm kind of wedging the buttstock into my body, right? From here into here. And then the next thing I want to do is I want to wedge it from here into here. So I have a little bit of resistance here by locking out my knees. I have weight from my cheek and my head here, and I'm gonna push forward from the back, and then I'm also gonna pull my hand into my shoulder pocket. Okay, after I have the buttstock in my shoulder pocket just above my clavicle, I have my shooting hand pulling towards my shoulder pocket, and my cheek is on it and everything's good. I'm gonna place my support hand or my non-firing hand over here, and I'm just gonna kind of rest it where the tripod meets the rifle, okay? And what that does is the way it's set up right now is I can almost kind of lock it out just in a very relaxed manner. And what that's doing is it's creating a almost like a tripod going horizontally versus vertically. And it just helps me stable the gun a little bit more left and right than it does up and down. And I've got a nice stable platform now to where I'm in the best position possible to manage the recoil from this rifle, okay? That's pretty much it. I mean, if you can just, you know, be able to lock this, because if you think about it, okay, all the movement, like whenever the recoil happens in this rifle, okay, it's mostly being translated into this buttstock. Well, I mean, all of it is, but if I can just manage the up and down, left and right, and the forward and backward, if I can manage this right here and lock this in as best I can, it's gonna make me manage the recoil a lot better. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, check out our other video on tripod selection. I'll see you later.